about it, and not just have you join the conversation, but also bring an expert who would get to throw more light into the issues that we've raised today. We've talked about the issue of cultism, we've talked about indecent dressing, we've talked about a whole lot of things that you probably had a good time with us, but we just want to hear from the expert point of view. We have an amazing personality in the house, but I'm going to let Uyai do the honors of introducing our guest.
Yes, thank you very much. This morning we have with us here in the studio Ms. Abasema Nkanta, who is a child educationist. She's a child abuse advocate. She's a director. She is a young lady of so many hearts. Like, if I read her profile, it's gonna be a long one.
Please keep it there.
Just keep it low, right?
Yeah,
right. But top of our list for us today is that she's a child abuse advocate, and it's such an honor to have you in the studio with us today, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well,
welcome
I
to
like
Spectrum Television, right? She has to. Welcome to Spectrum Television.
Thank you very much.
How's the journey here?
It's an adventure.
I saw that coming. It's the first time coming here, right?
Sure.
Okay.
No,
the next time you come, you will make you a family member.
Thank you for indulging us. So, what we'd like to talk about on this extended version is the issue of cultism in primary and secondary schools. Okay. In the past week, we've had issues of a boy, Sylvester, who was allegedly killed, at Dowen College in Lagos. And then the case is gradually unraveling. We just want to know, what is the story behind cultism in our secondary schools?
Oh, wow. I will start by saying that the story the story of cultism in secondary school is actually a very deep one. And I would love to take let's take a look at this story deeply. Okay. Because the Bible says once the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? Right. So I'll put it in my own context. If the family, if the home system is destroyed, what can the school do? Yeah. Now, as a mother, you cannot give what you don't have. Personally, I love saying that parenting happens to a lot of mothers. Parenting happens to a lot of people. You just sleep and then you wake up, I'm pregnant. Yeah. Probably you went to the hospital, then you're told you're pregnant. What preparation did you have at ground? What preparation did you have that you prepared? Okay, I'm getting pregnant. I'm trying to see how I can raise a successful child, because there is nobody that wants to build a story building and then the person will now erect the building in a bungalow foundation. Right. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So what 21st century parent has really been grooming monsters. Wow. Because you can't give what you don't have. There are some people that if you see somebody's child, you really discipline the child. Yeah. Because you are afraid of what the parent will get to do to you. That is the situation we are having now. Okay. And it is not enough for you to raise your child well. It is not enough. How sure are you that the neighbor next door has successfully raised their own child?
Okay, so now that takes us to the point we're hammering on in placing side by side the old days of, raising a child and today's society and modern way of raising a child. Now, you've talked about being able to raise your child well and the fact that a lot of parents actually like, they sleep and wake up and they are parents. Sure. But then my question is, before somebody actually gets to the point of being pregnant and having a child, it is assumed or is expected that at least the person must have been between the ages of 18 and above. Okay. And so before that age, he or she must have had that initial home training from his or her own family background, and then grew up and probably must have gone to school and all of that. Shouldn't that be a good environment, a good opportunity for somebody to actually get to understand the nitty-gritties of being a parent?
You said something, the person was groomed. So what happened when the person was not groomed?
Right, that's true.
Because we have two kinds of parenting now. The ones that raise their children properly and the ones that did not raise their children properly. Yeah. Now, in the case of Sylvester was raised properly. that even in the case of all that beating that he had, he still insists, I cannot join cult.
Right.
And I give it to that boy.
Right.
Okay.
I give it to the parents. Now, there is a crossbreeding here that these bullies came from wealthy homes, and then they now brought Sylvester that came from a well-raised background, a well-disciplined background. They mixed together. And then that is why we are having this disaster.
Okay. Now that takes me to the next question. You're talking about bullies coming from a wealthy environment, from the wealthy home.
Okay.
Now, it seems to be a trend of some sort that persons who are actually into cultism in higher institutions or across the secondary school as is spreading are actually people from these well-to-do families.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we explain that?
Well, I will say that some things are genetic. In the absence of it being genetic, it's also a moral standard that some parents set. Some parents chase after money, and then they forget that the wealth that they actually have that is their children.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as a parent, I've actually met a parent that said, Abbas, I'm actually very confused. I don't know what will happen to my boy tomorrow. And then he actually confided in me. You understand what I'm trying to say? They now get to say that he was once a cultist, though he is no more a cultist.
But he's still living in the life of a cultist.
No, he has actually changed.
The child has already seen some of this
the child has
exposure.
started developing some traits. So I now had to tell him, sir, in this case, there are so many things your child will not get to tell you. So get to your child a model, get to your child a mentor, because there are certain things your child will not tell you. No matter how the relationship, no matter the bonding you have with your child, there are things your child will not still tell you. I bet you if Sylvester had a mentor, when the mom was not listening, the mentor would have picked the signal.
Right. Okay, yes, you mentioned a point that is very important there, because your basis was first on the family front.
Sure.
Now, we agree that there is the success of any society is based on the success of the home.
Sure.
But now we have the home front, and then we have the school. What part is the school playing in all of this?
Okay.
We're meant to have counseling systems in schools. We're meant to have the house masters in schools. How are we not observing the activities that are going on in our dormitories, even in our day schools?
Okay, there are 3 offices that are missing in school system now.
Well,
The office of a psychologist, the office of a counselor, and the office of a relationship expert.
Wow.
Those 3 offices are very, very relevant in our schools. And then this cult that is going on in school, I will say that there is somebody feeding it.
wow.
You cannot tell me that a child will go to a private institution that has some certain standard, and then some certain meetings goes on, and then not even one staff gets to know about it. It's not possible.
Okay, now that is actually giving credits to what we had said earlier on
Yeah,
the show.
that's true.
That, it's not possible for children to actually be,
Having
doing the
secluded meetings.
cultists and secluded meetings and having all of these things happening without people being involved. And those had to be key people in the school environment, which brought me to the issue I narrated earlier. As a teacher, I was opportune to see some of these things first, and I get to see teachers actually being the ones who indoctrinate their pupils or students into cultism. Now, away from that, the norm of having rich people, are we looking at a case where rich people refuse intentionally to train up their children and then releases these children to, unleash mayhem on the rest of the people?
What happened in the rich family setting is because you have actually experienced a rich mother who actually beat up their maid for disciplining her child. And then you are doing this in front of the child. You are grooming a monster.
Yeah.
You are intentionally telling that child nobody has the permission to discipline you.
Yeah,
I remember when I was, I think at 12 or 13, I did something wrong, and of course you wouldn't expect me to tell you what I did wrong.
But you can share it.
No, I can't share that as well. And then I was practically crying. Children are actually manipulative in nature. So I ensured that I sustain the tears. I
For a
ensured
long
the
time.
tears doesn't get dry till my mom returned. And then when my mom returned, I was still crying. My mom didn't pay attention. I was just following her about. And the next thing she said, what is even wrong with you? So I was like, that beat me. Say, what did you do? Of course, you will not hear that part that I did something wrong.
Yeah.
You hear that. That person beat me up. And then my mom said something that reset my brain. She said something that gave me a mental shift till today. She said, only me cannot train you. And that is what we are lacking in the society now.
Yeah, that's consciousness.
Exactly.
So even if I go out there, I'm always very conscious that if anything happens, my mom will not support me, especially if I'm guilty.
Yeah.
That is what we are lacking now.
I think for us to have a balance with the society that we live in, so that, because the context here, if you're looking at the Durham College situation, it's an environment where you have mostly wealthy children.
Sure.
But we know that it is not, this cultism is not constricted only
it's
to
not restricted to just
private schools or because we even have a case here in New York.
Sure.
That was last year or the year before, where the public school was shut down because of speculations of cultism. So I don't think it's a matter of just, rich children, but there are fundamental issues that are wrong. Now, this is what I'm going to, back to the parent. I watched the feed from where the father was talking about the experience of the child, and then we realized that the children had brought up this case. We have provisions worth of 50,000 given to us, and it's finished in less than a week or two. How does one child consume all of these things? What would you say to parents having to pay attention to that? Because we have a lot of kids, even where we say with child abuse, a child comes and tells the parents, I am being abused. But the parent, for some reason, just thinks your child is telling you fables. What's your word to the parents?
My words to parents is actually very pathetic, because raising a child, you have to be physically, you have to be mentally, you have to be psychologically, you have to be emotionally and behaviorally ready to raise a child. So that any time the child is switching to a behavioral nature, you understand this is the reason why this child is acting this way. The child switched to emotional, you understand that there is something wrong with this child. So a child coming to tell you, let me use the Sylvester case. Can you change my school? The father said that's the longest statement he has ever made in 3 weeks. And I cried.
Wow.
3 weeks a child has not spoken to you, and then the child came up to tell you, can you please change
and you do not think that something serious is going on.
First thing, you change the school, then you find out why.
Yeah, definitely. Now to add to what you just said, I remember my first nephew, he was taken out from, immediately he left secondary or primary school. He was into the secondary school, but we had to take him out from secondary school into a boarding house. And then that was because all of us went through boarding school, and we're like, okay, since he's a little bit wild, let's send him there so that he can panel beat him a bit. But just 6 months into the school system, and he started shrinking. So my sister called me and was like, how did you guys survive in school? I mean, wisdom is shrinking and you guys didn't have that scenario. And I'm like, okay, let me just come home and talk to him. And when I got home, I asked him, what's the problem? And he told me he just doesn't want to go back to that school.
Wow.
And then I asked my sister, has wisdom told you guys he doesn't want to go back to the school? They said yes. But we think he's just making up excuses not to go back. He's missing food, the fact that mommy cooks good meal and you eat and go to school and come back. And I'm like, okay, this is actually behind, good meals or missing home. I think there's something wrong. And then my sister said, okay, let's observe for another time. And then they observe. Luckily enough for me, or for us, the elders in the family is a counselor and a trained nurse. So at some point, she had to come into the situation. And we got to discover the guy was actually being harassed sexually by homosexuals.
Oh my.
You can imagine.
So being harassed for the first time just kind of killed the guy's morale. And that ended it. So when we took him out to another boarding house. And after a few months there, he just adjusted and everything. And then I told him, you see? So parents need to be really conscious I mean, it is not easy for children to speak most times.
Yeah.
But when they do speak up and come
They
into
don't
conversation,
lie.
you have to pay
They don't
very
lie.
serious attention to what they have to do.
Okay, sorry, you are an education consultant. This issue between boarding, should my child go to a boarding school, should my child go to a day school? I know you have an opinion. Let me hear it.
I've had so many people inboxing me between.
Because how does it affect the whole country?
Yeah. And some people are saying, this one of people are asking me, should I send my child to a boarding school? I mean, for me, it doesn't, this whole scenario doesn't really lies in boarding school.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have emotional connection with your child? That is the first thing. And then if you have 3 children, it doesn't necessarily mean that 3 of them must pass through boarding school. Study your child to know. Because the environment that is favorable to A cannot be favorable to B. If you are emotionally connected to them, you will definitely realize that. It's not every child that thrives in a certain environment. The same way that all of them are bearing different names, they don't have the same color complexion. So their wiring are totally different. So as a parent or as a mother or a father, let me use the word mother because mother should be closer to their children than the fathers. I'm not saying fathers should not be close to their I'm not saying
we should all be. That's what
be emotionally connected to our children. But if you find out that your first daughter will strive very well in boarding school, please prayerfully choose the school. Because nowadays I'm not shy. I'm very bold to say that some schools are after the school fees you pay.
Definitely.
They are not after, no matter the amount you pay them, they are not after the well-being of your child. So prayerfully choose a school for your child.
We're going to come back to this conversation.
Definitely.
We're still going to have Ms. Abasema with us on the show. Let's quickly take a break, and when we return, we will continue with the rest of the interview. Stay tuned.
Hi everybody, this is Becky Bernard. You're on to Rise and Shine Show.
Hello Nigeria, welcome to Rise and Shine Show. My name is Eltobasi Tom.
This is Rise and Shine. My name is Ubong Kings.
Hi everybody, this is Becky Bernard. You're on to Rise and Shine Show.
Hello Nigeria, welcome to Rise and Shine Show. My name is Eltobasi Tom.
This is Rise and Shine. My name is Ubong Kings.
Welcome back. It's Rise and Shine Extended, and we've been having an interview here with Ms. Abasema Nkata, who is an advocate for child abuse and an educationist. It's been really enlightening. She said some really pivotal and important information that we need to, go back on, think about with the uprise of cultism in our primary and secondary schools. Thank you so much, Ms. Abasema, for being here. So in closing on this particular subject, you have anything you'd like to say to the parents, to school boards?
Okay.
Very important. I think we really hammered on the parents' part, but I think you should, a word for the schools.
Okay, for the schools, first I'll say get the services of a counselor, a relationship expert, and a psychologist. And then don't just employ because you see somebody with a long CV. Please find out, does the person has passion for children? Does the person have passion for these children that are coming to teach? Find out, is the person willing to discipline these students as their own? Find out the background of this, whether they belong to any certain kind of groups that are not religious and then legally recognized. Don't just admit because somebody just presents a CV to you. It's not done like that, especially when the lives of this young destiny are involved.
Yeah,
that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. Do you have any last words?
Baz has said a whole lot of things, but for me, I would say children are the future of today and tomorrow. And as parents, as society, government, we owe them an obligation to ensure that they have the right environment to learn, to grow, and to become all they potentially can be. So we need to rise up and say no to child abuse, child molestation, cultism, and every other thing that stands against the child becoming who he or she was destined to be. Thank you for being with us on Rise and Shine. My name still remains Francis Edit.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Pay attention to your children. We are still on the show. Don't go away. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Becky Bernard. You're on to Rise and Shine Show.
Hello, Nigeria. Shine Show.
My eyes have seen.
My eyes have seen.
My ears have heard.
My ears have heard.
What my lips may not speak.
What my lips may not speak.
And if my lips may speak it,
And if my lips may speak it.
you will die.
Abra Jesus. Oh God.
Repeat.
We came to remind you that we'll be traveling to the village tomorrow for Christmas.
I will break your head with this thing.
My eyes have seen.
My eyes have seen.
My ears have heard.
My ears have heard.
What my lips may not speak.
What my
Hello and welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It's still Rise and Shine Saturday, the extended version. We have another guest in the house.
And I'm super sure that you can't wait to meet this
Yeah.
one. I mean, he's a fine gentleman, if I'm allowed to use that word. Don't mind me, sometimes I kid around a lot. His name is none other than Mr. Ubong Charles. He's a gospel artist. He's a very beautiful person. And Ubong, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
How do you do?
We're doing great.
Because-
When I use the word we, it's not about me.
Not
alone,
just about
it's
you.
everything that comes with me.
Right.
My goodness. Okay.
How's your first Spectrum experience?
Whoa, I think that's the best word to use. Wow.
Wow.
It just blows my mind that we have such beautiful work
Yeah.
in the city, and I think it's a good pace setter
Okay.
because we know that, well, Spectrum being a TV station with other subsidiaries, they've always set the pace for others. So
Lead
it's
another
beautiful.
time.
It's very
So
good.
I guess it's okay for us to say hashtag Spectrum Television, hashtag wow, the wow experience.
That's it. That's it.
Welcome. So today we have you here as our Artist of the Week, and it's such an honor to have you.
Thank you so much.
We have come across your musical work, and that's why we have you here to celebrate and to honor you. Yes. So we'd like for you to give us a little background about yourself in music.
Wow. Okay. Musically, I happen to find myself doing this. I think at about my secondary school days.
Okay.
That was about the late 90s.
Wow.
In the course of doing it, that's why I'm not actually a musicologist in training,
Okay.
but it runs through the blood because I grew up to see my grandmother, my dad's mother, as a choir mistress in Apostolic Church. And automatically I had to fall in line. But you know, when you're wired for something different, there must be a calling on the inner man that tells you that's not where you belong. But you know, that laid the foundation in the late 90s. So I've been privileged to be a part of a church choir, worked as a choir member in Great Faith Church. A few months or years, with the giftings expressing itself, I was made the choir director. So I've been in the scene from 1999 up until date.
Wow.
My recent environment was working with God's ambassadors. It's a renowned great woman of God in the city, Reverend Angela Shaw. It's been a privilege to work with her for 8 years.
Wow.
Good number of years. So on the other aspect of my gospel music life is being the quiet type, but I know it's been impactful because you walk on the street and you're like, someone greets you. I'm like, oh, yeah, you see, I know you don't know me, but
Yeah.
I've encountered you. So on the background, I've been doing it, but not like that, no name, so to speak.
Not no name. Hey, Jesus. I know about you, and that definitely anybody that I know about in the entertainment industry, especially around here, is a known name.
Oh, really?
Known faces.
Yeah. So that's what I said. So you need people you don't know, but they know you.
So that should tell you that you're not doing it on a small scale. You're actually big.
Okay.
It's you who
defines it that way? Okay.
And it's because we are celebrating grace.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think it's just being modest.
I'm trying. Yeah, I like that. I like that word. I'm just trying to be modest here.
So do you have any projects to your name? Albums, songs, videos?
Yeah, I had a debut album when I was celebrating my 40th birthday.
Ooh.
That was 2019.
Wow.
July 23rd.
I've just done a quick calculation of his age.
Yeah, it's nothing to hide. I don't look it. Because when
I love.
I don't look it. I can't look the number.
Right.
I must look what I chose.
And you're still looking.
Of course.
Looking at you when you walked in, I actually thought you were in your early 20s or thereabout.
Hey, you're very ambiguous.
Well, you know, I've actually seen people who look a lot younger or a lot older than they are. But when you walked in, I didn't see 40 plus.
Right. But actually, that's
20s and most 30s.
I think I should do one if it's 21. Okay,
that's
so
beautiful, yeah.
I did that first debut album, not an album, an EP, because it had about 7 tracks.
Okay,
and after then it's been in quiet mood. But I think, like I always tell people, that everything on earth has time and season. That's what the Bible says. I think the time is now, because lately I've been having strong instructions coming in. Yeah.
Understand those voices.
So something is coming up in 2022, and I call 2022 my launch out year.
Wow.
Yeah, my launch out year. So on the 2nd of January, we'll be having I Win live worship concerts.
Wow. Okay.
Now I'm probably wondering, why is the word I Win? Yes, it's an instruction. The last few years, from the pandemic season up until now, it's been a big struggle for us in this part of the world. Indeed. So God is giving us a word that a breakthrough season has come. And before you could enter into it, it must come from your mouth. Because if I have to quote the scripture here, the Bible says God spake those things that were not as though they were.
Yeah.
He didn't see them, he just called them
Called
first.
them and they came into being.
In 2022, God has instructed me with a land of friends and the city of
you,
and has made our come from
outside the city
to gather in the place of
worship and
bring into the mind of people that it is time for us to speak what we want to see.
Okay, so is it just a concert or is it like a live recording?
Not a
live recording,
but a live recording.
Okay, now I want to ask sorry to cut you short.
No, it's cool.
What is the message behind
your music?
What is the message?
Okay. The message behind my music is announcing Jesus Christ to the world.
Okay.
You know, the world still struggling today to understand the meaning of love. I've been involved in a couple of things, so I can boldly say that.
there's been an abuse of that word and wrong
interpretation of it.
But I think the best way to interpret love is what Jesus did for us on the cross of Calvary. So I have an assignment. That's the message behind
my music.
That's my sound.
And
that's my word. To announce Jesus to the whole world.
To the whole world through music. And the theme of your song is love. Now, you've mentioned that you've seen a whole lot of things in the world, and then you want to focus on love, which is your message. Now, what aspect of love are you selling out to the world? And I'm asking that question because some persons in the religious cycle tend to define love just the Christ way, without actually looking at the other side of love, which has to do with you and your neighbor. So, which aspect is your love story?
Love has
just one definition.
That's God.
Yeah.
God is love. So my message with regards to the love I'm professing is it must not be a biological brother. Must not be someone you've had any gain
from, so to speak.
Anybody you find on the streets should benefit from it. Because even the Bible says that you owe no man nothing except love.
Except love.
Okay, so love has, however the
world sees it, it's just an individual perspective. My own message is it has only one meaning. Be nice, be good, show concern, positive concern, because there are also negative concerns anyway, to people around you,
your neighbor,
the person on the street. I had an encounter last week
in the city center
where an elderly woman was crossing on the road, and almost close to the pavement, she collapsed. And I was
standing on the other end.
I saw the size of the woman, so I knew I may not be able
to lift her
and being a
alone.
woman. If it were a guy, I would
easily grab her.
I turned around and tapped on someone and said, please, can we help that woman? And the person said, why? So what came to my mind was,
it could have been your mother. And you could have
needed
someone to help.
So I had to cross over, and thank God there were concerned persons around.
Okay.
And when I helped her across the road, the first question she asked me was, why did you do it? And I answered, I said, that's the best I could do at that time. You don't need to be my mother. In fact, you are my mother. Because I wouldn't see my own mother in such situation and not her. So love is actually being nice to people at the best you can express.
Yeah, at that point it becomes easier for you to even preach your gospel. It becomes easier for you to sell your sound. Okay, something else I'd like to ask is, what stories, what experience, what has been your life experience, something that has framed your music? Because there's got to be something that reminds you about why you do what you do.
Yeah, I come from a background where, like I said, it's a music family.
Okay.
So music has been around. And but we had these issues of the extended family challenges. So that's where my love message comes from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because where you have senior cousins who look down on you because of your father's position in the family. And then outside the family circle, in the school circle, I then in school was like the smallish looking guy amongst the group.
I can definitely relate to that. I can definitely relate to that.
So when you're there, I know when we're in school, we used to do the secular music. I sang Michael Jackson and Boyz II Men's music a whole lot then. So they were like, this is your own way of trying to feel relevant, So I had that bullying, not feeling love. Then coming back into the church circle, I'm the first child of my family and incidentally the first graduate of my family.
Amazing.
So I had this experience where after I wrote JAM twice, had admission into University Ife, to study Israel International Relations. But the family financial status wasn't very good enough, so I had to drop it aside. The next time I had another admission, University of Uyo Banking and Finance, it still didn't work.
That's right.
So I had to find myself in church. then, and they will still bully. Because people tend to rate you by
where you come from,
how much courage you hold, and who is behind you.
Definitely.
So that defined my music. I tend to tilt to the worship, the downbeat, because officially in music terminology, it's actually downbeat. What we call it in the church is worship. Okay, so I tend to tilt to something that is very emotional, and the worship part, leaves you room.
It leaves you.
So that defined my music. But I lately, in the course of it, discovered that the downbeat wasn't really celebrated, then. So I had to, diversify.
So I'm going to put you on a hot seat right now.
Oh.
I'm going to have you give us a hot
Hold on a little. Okay. Before we put you on that hobby, and I second the motion because I want to see something. I want to experience something. You already brought that aura with you when you started talking.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. So we want to feel it. But before then, you've seen the music industry. You've been in the music industry for quite a good number of years. How do you rate the music industry in this part of the world? I mean, the gospel music industry, to be specific.
And the first thing I'll say now is, and I like saying anywhere I go, is that this part of the world, if I have to use the word Akwa Ibom State, is really blessed with talented and anointed music personalities. Now I don't want to use the word minister so it doesn't just steal to the church alone.
Yeah.
But secular and the church music. I've been privileged to go to the west, a little to the north, interact with music people there. I hardly find a band in this country that you don't have an Akwa Ibomite as a key factor in that band. I stand to be corrected anyway.
No.
So we are gifted. But there's something I want to say that my brethren out there should learn from. We should start thinking beyond the four walls of our immediate environment.
Yeah.
2, we should start thinking professional. And 3, we should build excellence a whole lot into what we're doing. Because music, if I have to say, the headquarters of music in Nigeria is Akwa Ibom State.
Oh, that is such a bold and audacious.
Very bold. I'm saying audacious, and I can be called upon to defend this. Anyway.
That's fair.
Now I don't want to join
let's
that.
do this. We'll take a quick break.
Definitely.
Take a quick break, and then when we return, we will still have Ubong Charles with us, and we'll keep on with this discussion.
Hi everybody, this is Becky Bernard. You're on to Rise and Shine Show.
Hello, Nigeria. Welcome to Rise and Shine Show. My name is Tom.
This is Rise and Shine. My name is Ubong Kings.
It's still Rise and Shine Saturday extension, and we're super excited to be here. I mean, the discussion is just spirit lifting right now. But before we went on that break, there's something I wanted to do, and I seconded the motion. And we still have this amazing personality, Ubong Charles, in the building. He's a gospel artist, and so far he is blessed with a wealth of experience. And I love the reason why he's doing gospel music. I mean, I am a believer of love, and I believe that love should be shared between you and I and our brothers. I mean, the whole commandment of God is summed up in the love of God and love of neighbor, and you cannot take one apart from the other. So,
and music is a good way to relate
sweet, in fact, the sweetest way to relate it.
So we are going to have you give us live music. Just pull out something from your EP.
Oh,
I can give you the baseline.
Don't spoil it. Deliver unto us. Bless our hearts this Saturday morning.
Okay, thanks so much.
We need it back up.
She sings alto.
And what part do you sing?
Falsetto.
Falsetto. I don't like falsehood in my music. All right. Okay. There's a song we're working on.
Okay.
For the I Win live worship experience on the second, and it's titled "Amazing Grace."
Okay.
It's an excerpt of a very popular Ibibio song.
Wow.
So I'm going to try to do a little bit of justice.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So
we're ready.
We're ready.
We're ready.
Please don't play the bass.
No problem.
Okay. The thought of all you went through just to save me. It's amazing the love you have for me. The pain and shame upon the cross was for me. So amazing the love you gave to me. The storms of life you can't give me victory. Such amazing love you've shown to me. It's amazing, undeniable, amazing grace, kuyang fre, tatam fonfo, afo kenyanga, afo kentwambo, kuyang fre, atatam fonfo. Amazing grace has saved a wretch like me.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. I just went to the realms and returned.
I got carried away when you mentioned the lyrical composition that says through the storms your grace saved me through it all. And then coming back to amazing grace that saved a wretch like me.
And the message of love is right there. Is right there. Beautiful one. Beautiful
Thank you
work.
so much for blessing us with that.
Thank you so much. And we believe that your project coming the 2nd of January, that it will be a successful one.
Thank you.
And from all of us at Spectrum Television, we pray and hope that your music gets, higher and higher, brighter and brighter, and your sound, travels and covers the earth as God intends for you. Thank you so much for coming on the show with us.
Okay, yes, it's still Rise and Shine Saturday. I mean, I just came back from the spirit wall and I feel like blessing somebody right now. Oh yeah, should I?
You want to bless?
Yeah, I want to bless.
What's blessing?
Blessing. Like God blessing.
Let me see what you want to do.
I think you're still thinking about that, you are Mala and Begri. So I'll let you be.
Please. All right. I think this is where we're going to say our goodbyes today. And I'm going to allow Mr. Ubong to say his goodbyes. I think, did we miss out on anything? I was going to ask you something. Do I have a minute? I like to ask people what their challenges have been in music, especially with regards with our client. What's your challenge with music? Have you had any bumps in the road that have, negatively affected your music? Just like in a minute or thereabout.
Okay, in a minute. Actually, in Nigeria today, you can't go through any road without finding a bomb. So life itself is actually designed to experience bombs. I have actually experienced a couple of bombs in the course of doing music. Major challenge we have in this part of the world is the financial aspect of it. And we're trusting God that ideas and creative capacity is going to come for us to navigate through it. But through it all, we're still there, we're holding on, and we'll get through it. One thing I like saying is, regardless of the challenges, just keep doing your thing, because consistency is the major foundation to coming out. One day, a bright light can shine from the end of the tunnel, and there you go. Okay, so in closing, as a growing veteran in the music ministry and industry in Akwa Ibom, are there things that you're deliberately doing to impact on the next generation of music artists coming out of Akwa Ibom and our client? Yes, I by 2022 I'm designing, or have designed already, and I'm implementing a mentorship program for upcoming music artists, because I noticed there's not been transition from the older like people who were there before our generation. There's not been transition, but regardless of that, we must lay the foundation and build that, because if we don't, the children coming tomorrow maybe doing something different. And so by next year, there's what I tag the revamp.
Okay.
It's a mentorship program for young gospel music artists to understand the role of a music artist as a Christian, the business end of it. And most importantly, the mentorship end of it. Because even as a young person, you have someone you look mentoring. So we at that point build it up.
A connectivity.
The synergy in the whole. Wow. I think it's been a full morning. It's really, really been a full morning for us to have had an extended version.
Exactly.
So I think we are going to wrap up at this point and say our final.
So that way I can go and have amala and bakery.
Why are you putting me on the spot?
I didn't say anything though.
We're going to say our final goodbyes. And so, Mr. Yubi, let us have a goodbye. Yeah, do the first honors of telling the people bye-bye.
I please, in a few seconds, want to appreciate Spectrum TV and the man behind the vision. I give you to Alessa.
Yes, sir.
And to the Spectrum family, thank you. And to you out there, look at what God has designed in your life to do, because you're not meant to do everything. When you locate it, stay on it. Time works on every idea.
Wow.
Bye.
And borrowing a cue from Mr. Ubong Charles, and here are my words. I mean, the word of God says that a man's talent maketh ways for him to sit among kings and princes. Until you are doing your talent, then you are in the wrong place, you are in the wrong environment. Your spotlight will not come until you find yourself at the place of your talent and creativity. I remain Frank, isn't it? And it's been amazing having you here on Rise and Shine Station.
It's been super amazing here on the show all morning. And the journey has been from one thing to the other. I know it's been